Welcome back, you filthy exiles, and yeah, today we're going to talk a little bit about Titan Quest 2 and a little bit of a build I put together. So, I'm not going to go crazy with like trying to do multiple builds, things like that. There's a number of reasons for that. Number one, anyone posting up like insane like number one build guides and stuff like that is totally wild because you can't really do a number one build guide. It's only like literally Act 2. And so there's going to be a lot more content that will come out over time. I'd assume though for most builds that are being put together and presented, like what I'll do here, the scaling will be available and you'll be able to push it through to the end game. A couple of other things about builds. It's really easy to make builds work. Mine here, my tooltip, we don't really have like an optimum level of tooltip damage or anything like that. But like I sit on like 700 and then once I've got my cyclone stacks up to 10, my damage then, goes up first. So we go to 10 and we get up to about 766. And with a better spear, and I got a pretty bad spear at the moment, I could easily get up to like somewhere in the vicinity of 1,000 and, Bob's your uncle. Obviously more leveling, things like that will be better. But yeah, it sort of is what it is. Now, to play content in the game that currently, to max it out, because right now it's like less than level 25, right? So basically, you're going to go to Pyrgos, right? Or Pyrgos. So if you're going to your travel map here, you're just literally going to go to Pyrgos village, right? And then basically you want to walk up and there's a statue of Ares that allows you to increase the difficulty level. And that's basically what you want to do on your character. So you're going to go up to the statue, not get stuck on those NPCs. And then this statue of Ares is going to give you a few options. Rituals of Ares, so you're going to go select. And then basically going to increase or decrease difficulty, right? And then you just go like activate. And you can cap out to +5 total, which brings everything up to like level, I think 25, something like that. You can reset that at any time. Also, you can like increase the minimum enemy levels, and also you can respawn all the enemies on your map, right? And every time you do this, you increase the level of enemies. It increases the drops and things like that, so they get better over time. Right now, this is pretty much the only way that you can sort of max this out. Now, the other rituals I haven't really looked at was that Athena? And basically, this just goes refund all invested attribute points, right? So this is just a respec option. So yeah, if you want to change game difficulty, this is how you basically do it. Until more parts of the game get released, things like that. Pretty much the last boss before the Three Sisters is where you get to, and that's about it. So outside of that, like anything that is coming out as a build now is just a concept in theory. It's not foolproof because we don't know what the end game looks like. We don't know what full progression looks like. We've only literally got 2 acts and up to level 25 or 30 is your ceiling. And that's basically it. So anyway, I thought I'd just sort of preface that. So I'm not going to do like a bunch of videos about build guides until more content comes out for the game. And then we'll be back at Path of Exile 1 and 2 from like tomorrow night anyway. But as an overall, I've had a pretty good experience with the game. It's been a lot of fun. And anyway, let's get into a bit of a breakdown of what I've done here to get my sort of early sort of, I guess, guide working. And yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so pretty much with this from a gearing perspective, at this stage, like it's so early on that, you could sit here and farm content and get all green tier and epics, right? Obviously you can see I've got an epic here, which would be really cool to do something with, but at this stage, it's just playing around with things to see what works and what sticks. But pretty much you're just going to be looking to try and like overcap your resistances at the end of the day. And in my case, like I'm pretty much almost totally capped in resistances. I'm still getting my head around things like physical armor, but strike and pierce. So strike seems to be like standard hits. Pierce seems to be like heavy melee damage taken. So you sort of want to push this up as far as you can, though it doesn't necessarily help too much against like Pan and stuff like that do heavy amounts of elemental. But the reason why I can tank things is because I have quite a lot of health regeneration as well. I think I sit at about nearly 70 per second. We'll talk about the skills very shortly. Outside of that, pretty much the biggest thing with anything that you're going to play in this game I found is like a high DPS weapon is going to give you the biggest advantage from a damage perspective, and that will scale out all your skills. Adding things like flat damage, like lightning damage here is quite significant. And also crit I found to be very effective as well, so that's another thing. So if you're struggling for damage, crit strike chance is going to be a big advantage here. But basically just rolling through, literally just Helmut reses. We've got Pauldrons again with crit chance. It's very much like Diablo 3's stat system, and it's very much like the TQ1 stat system, obviously, because it's TQ2. Resistances, then we've got more resistances on our chest piece, and these are all drops, you just farm stuff at this point. Then we want to try and get as high a DPS spear as we can. Now, we're running lightning, I think it's like lightning bolt, which we're calling lightning spear anyway, because you can only use it with spears, and we'll talk about the skill setups very shortly. And then basically our pendant, again, regeneration, resistances. If you can get crit and flat lightning damage on your rings, that's going to be a big advantage. Your armbands, again, like increased lightning damage here. Your boots, movement speed is pretty much your biggest friend, and resistances. And then just a solid shield with whatever you can get to drop, right? If you want to get this sort of up and running and kicking the way that I've got it kicking. We're not really worried too much about flasks at the moment because we've got a long way to go before that's a credible thing that will scale. But yeah, the swords, the flask that you run scales with your level as well, I've found. So your increased healing scales up your flasks, and it's just really modifiers at the end of the day that changes things. So in this case, I get 25% increased movement speed for 1 second when I hit my health flask, and +3 to life regeneration or health regeneration per second. That's about it. So let's get into the skill setups. Okay, so attribute scaling is a pretty significant thing. Because we're running spears in this, we actually need to put points into agility. So you'll need agility, and eventually when you run like different spears, you'll also need to move into resolve. Just be mindful when you start to level up past like level 22 to 23, these meta attributes become relevant to balance. So this is something that we'll need to think about when we sort of build builds further into the game, and that's then the dichotomy of balance between agility, knowledge, and might. I actually sort of like this setup. I think this is pretty ingenious and a good way to sort of build stats up. But you can respec these points, but at this stage, yeah, it's very early days, like level 22 is nothing. I don't know what the level cap will be. I probably would say it's like 60 to 70, maybe 80. But if it's 100, it'd be really nice if it would be 100, to be honest with you. Give you something to work towards. Now, that's for attributes. Now, masteries. So we'll just go through core. We've got no points in the core screen here because we don't need to use core screen. We're just literally going to use lightning bolt at the end of the day, right? And then in warfare, so we've got 8 points sitting in our battlefield awareness, which is an active aura. The reason why is this gives us like tons of life regeneration, and this is why I could just sit on the enemy and just like punch the enemy basically with lightning bolts. And then I've also got in my other points here, I've got weapon proficiency. So the lightning bolt skill is not a spell, it's something else. It's like it's a weird one. It's a ranged attack projectile which scales with attack speed, not cast speed. So basically you're going to want to run weapon proficiency here. This is going to give you increased damage with weapon attacks and increased damage as an overall. At this stage, I believe this works with lightning bolt because it's a ranged attack skill, right? And then basically then we're going to run marksmanship and level this up over time as well. This is, again, like we come back to the attribute. It's really important to understand the attribute of the skill. So this is a projectile skill, right? So marksmanship then gives you increased projectile damage and speed, which is a big advantage. And the other advantage here is you get this projectile node here, which reduces the speed but does another 25%. And then eventually we'll probably get range or penetration, not too sure yet. And then finally, sorry, we've also got battle hardened as well. Again, flat life. We actually have quite a large life pool. So we're sitting on like 1,144 life pool, which is pretty good. And so we run battle harden, and then we're also going to run armor and health regeneration. Arguably, I haven't really figured too much about armor yet. You could probably run an extra 5% health and you wouldn't notice the difference, but I feel like armor might be a credible stat at this stage. And then finally, we run second wind. And the reason why we run this is we can get this stat called low health. And basically, while below 50% health, regenerate 1% health per second. So when you hit like low life, essentially, this is just low life if we're talking equivalency for Path of Exile. you can then increase your regeneration rate. So it's going to go up by a pretty significant portion if you've got a high health pool, which will be pretty good later on in the game as you scale this up. This will get very tanky and almost immortal, I would suggest, by the end of the end of the game, once you've got better gear and legendaries and all the rest of it. And then for our storm affinity here, so we're going to max out Storm Nimbus. I just like the word Nimbus. Anyway, so pretty much you're going to run Lightning Imbuement Thunderstorm. This is just going to give you increased strike damage, 6% increased lightning strike damage. Lightning Imbuement then converts 100% of your weapon damage to lightning damage as well. Frost Armor just for when you get hit, and Conservation. And then basically we want to go over, we want to pick up Cyclone. We just started leveling up. We want Escalation, which gives you Amplify. And Amplify increases your lightning damage, which is going to increase your damage when you're on the enemy, which is why when I stand still, I do more damage. And then we're going to do Lightning Bolt, and we want Gain Flow, we want Electric Burst, additional projectiles is pretty good. Weapon Attack, because we're using, so instead deals 120% of weapon damage as lightning damage. And this means you can use a lightning spear, a spear, or a bow to be able to use Lightning Bolt. And this is what makes it lightning spear, right? And then overload, and overload then stacks. So the more overload that you have, the more projectiles you get as well. So overload's a good stat to have. And then basically we're going to come across and we'll grab Storm Attunement, and then that's going to give us projectile damage and weapon damage. And because we're running like a lightning spear setup, this is going to be a big advantage to the build. And then basically we're going to come up and grab Lightning Evoker, and then eventually we're going to be able to just do flat, straight up 40% increased lightning strike damage at the end of the day, right? And then finally we just got 1 point Arcane Influx, and this just gives you some flat energy shield regeneration rate and an overall increased energy shield. I should clarify too with these stats too. So basically with Battlefield Awareness, we want enhanced regeneration and conservation. It's just going to reduce our amount of reserved energy. Arguably, you need less of this as your stat to cast is lower. At this stage, it's relatively low on my Lightning Bolt, but then beyond that point, it costs a lot to cast my Cyclone, right? And then pretty much with this, we want low health. With the feats under Battle Harden, we want armor health. I think I covered that. And then finally under our weapon proficiency, pardon me, we want attack speed and critical chance. And that's pretty much it. You want to max out your divinity as soon as you can. I'd suggest maxing out divinity in your storm affinity, and then max out your warrior second, because you don't necessarily need battlefield awareness, but it is nice to have. At this stage, like, you can have both pretty early on. And this would be something that as you play the build, you have to balance between the two. I would say a lot of these skill trees are going to change, and this is going to get much, much larger with a lot more skills over time. There's definitely a lot of room for this to move. And obviously these open skills here are going to be like ultimates. So it'll be interesting to see. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Like, the builds in this game are basically last epoch and the old TQ to an element of it, and I find it to be pretty easy at the end of the day. This is very similar, this is very similar to the original game, and this is very similar to how TQ1 worked. So I sort of like this. At this stage, barrier's good to have up just as a get out of jail free card. This is your weapon switch, so you can have like 2 weapons you can weapon switch. I don't necessarily think there's any benefit to like having dodge as a mechanic, but I guess like Cold Explosion could be good. Could be really good, actually. Something to play around with. Anyway, at this stage, yeah, you just want to focus your points in your main affinities that you're doing stuff with. Again, Cold Explosion could be really cool with this. Thunderstorm as well. Anyway, Freeze Explosion. You could double stack that. That looks like a double dip opportunity. Double dip probably exists in this at this stage. Anyway, that's it for skills. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much how build guides work in this game. At this stage, there's still a lot of stuff that needs to be added in, just to preface. If you guys like this type of video for Titan Quest 2, I'm going to keep doing this format, so let me know in the description below. But otherwise, I do want to do some more POE 1, one more POE 1 build, which is going to be my Discharge Gladiator that I was looking at building. And then we're going to move on to POE 2 League Start testing for the next few weeks before the announcement comes out. So it's going to be an exciting time on stream and in the channel. Outside of that, probably be playing the Battlefield open beta on the next 2 weekends as well, because I'm super keen for Battlefield. I'll be working away, so yeah, you can catch me on stream there. But anyway, until next time, don't forget to like and sub to the channel, and follow the Twitch and all the other good stuff. And I will see you guys in the next video. Have a good one all.